Hey everybody, how's it going this fine Monday afternoon? Let's talk a little more Russell Wilson. I mean, the mainstream media, the sports media, they want us to talk about Russell Wilson, so let's go ahead and do it. But let's definitely be a little careful about how we talk about Russell Wilson because there is one way in which the sports media and mainstream media wants us to talk about Wilson, but I don't think that way of talking about him carries much basis in reality at this point. So, before I get into all that, let's talk about some recent comments that came from Russell Wilson on Sports Center the other day. He was on there for an interview and he said some things that were pretty darn positive and should definitely make you feel very comfortable that Wilson is going to be here for at least one more season if you weren't already. So, before I talk about the real meat of this video, let's discuss what Wilson went over in that Sports Center interview where, to make a long story short, he said he was very happy with our free agency and draft. All right. So this Bleacher Report article kind of covers it. A strong free agency and draft period has apparently mended fences between the Seattle Seahawks and quarterback Russell Wilson. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler said Wilson was very happy with the team's offseason during an appearance Sunday on SportsCenter. It started in free agency. I was told Russell Wilson was very happy with the moves Seattle made to get a guard, Gabe Jackson, tight end, Gerald Everett, and they got a receiver, Dwayne Eskridge, in the draft. And so, I'm told Pete Carroll behind the scenes heard Russell Wilson and understood his frustrations. So we tried to keep an open line of communication with him over the last few months. They didn't necessarily have that heart-to-heart long sit-down, but it was steady contact over those last few weeks to figure out how we can get better. Because Wilson's beef was simple, hey, we're not getting to the Super Bowl anymore. I believe I can help us get there. I have some input. And so, even though Seattle does not let players dictate terms of front office personnel moves, Wilson's influence was definitely in place in this case. And so, this might not be done, but it's definitely good for now. You can go read the rest of the article if you want to, but basically, the gist of this article and the main takeaway is that as of right now, Wilson is indicating that he's very happy with where this team is headed and happy with his place on this team. And while some people may say, well, what else is he going to say? I would point you towards other players in the NFL right now who definitely want out. Players like Aaron Rodgers, players like Julio Jones, they are not making it a secret. They are saying, I want out, or they are saying, I am unhappy, or in some way or another, they're making it very clear that they want something different than what they have right now on their current teams. So for Wilson to indicate these things is a drastic difference from the guys that we know really want out. I bring this up because there are definitely people out there who want you to think otherwise. For instance, Mike Florio on PFT. He wrote this article this morning. This article came out this morning, titled Cap Charge for a Russell Wilson Trade Plummets Next Week. So he doesn't have a scoop on, oh, this team really wants to trade for Russell Wilson. Oh, this team's really interested in getting him. The Seahawks are trying to put together a trade package for Russell Wilson. No, he's just saying, hey, if the Seahawks want to trade Russell Wilson, it becomes financially viable next week. And technically, that is true. Uh, as of today, Russell Wilson's cap hit, if traded, would be $39 million. That is completely untenable. That you cannot do that. It literally costs more to trade him than it does to keep him. However, on June 2nd, the cap cost would drop to 13 million. Again, this is technically true. So it becomes feasible to trade him because you do save a lot of money in 2021. Um, Florio goes on to kind of feed these flames a little bit more. Carroll downplayed Wilson's discontent as old news and also basically said, this has been building for a long time. Wilson is likely on his last contract with the Seahawks one way or the other. The wildfire around Russell Wilson is burned down to coals, but it's still smoldering and can reignite at any time. The Wilson frustrations are not going anywhere, blah, 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 blah. The Seahawks may get a trade offer they cannot refuse this offseason. For instance, Derek Carr, 2 first-round picks and more. Da 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 da. it's impossible to rule it out, especially with the plummeting of the cap consequences only 9 days away. So basically, he's trying to say, I don't have any reason to believe that Wilson's going to get traded, but, we can never say never. And if you take a look at these financial details, it's starting to make a little more sense. And we know he was mad. And even though he says he's not mad now, he might still be mad, or he could be mad again in the future. Florio's far from the only one to have floated things out like this. There was an article this morning that I think got scrubbed from the internet because I cannot find it anymore. Maybe because somebody realized, oh, this is all BS. I got to get this off the internet before my reputation's in shambles. That basically said, John Schneider tried to trade Wilson at some point this offseason and it didn't work. That is a direct contradiction of everything we've heard from our front office and team so far this offseason. And it's also seemingly a direct contradiction to the fact that we pretty much know that the Bears made a massive offer for Wilson at one point and we turned them down. So there's definitely been an effort on the part of sports media to indicate that a Wilson trade is still going to happen this offseason. Okay, so first, let's talk about the financials of this, just in case. I don't know, maybe you're one of the Seahawks fans out there who actually still wants to trade Wilson and still wants to know how viable it is, or at least you're open to it, which there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. But here's the thing. If you go to Spotrac and you take a look at trading Russell Wilson after June 1st, because that's what we're talking about here. After June 1st, his dead cap hit in 2021 does go down to $13 million. It does. However, his 2022 dead cap hit will be $26 million. So you're not really saving all that much. You're just pushing it down the line. You're just taking the pain later instead of taking it now. So if you trade Wilson after June 1st, you're taking $13 million dead in 2021, which is, I guess, like, it still sucks, but you can do that and not be financially destitute. But then in 2022, it's just going to come back and slap you again at 26 million. So you haven't really made it better. You've just spread it out over 2 seasons. And having a 2022 dead cap hit of $26 million for a player who hasn't even been on your team for a full year, that's not fun. No, nobody wants to mess with that. So it's not as good as people like Mike Florio would have you believe. But it's not even really about the finances. That's certainly one aspect of it, but just be aware because I get people asking me in chat about a Wilson trade pretty frequently. I get people asking me about, hey, did you hear this rumor? Did you hear what Florio said? Did you hear what Schefter said? Did you hear what this guy or that guy said? And what I'm going to say is don't bite until you actually have something in your mouth. Don't bite down on stuff that people are telling you exists even though it doesn't. Okay? Could Wilson get traded this offseason? It's, I don't want to say impossible. I find it to be extremely unlikely because we built this team to win a Super Bowl this year. And most Wilson trades that you could make at this point, and there aren't that many, are not going to get you a Super Bowl caliber quarterback back. Okay? Like Derek Carr has been one example that's been floated, and Derek Carr's a starting caliber quarterback. He can be good, but we're going to build an offense around Russell Wilson this whole offseason and in the draft, and then we're going to completely change to a different type of quarterback? I don't see it. I don't think you want to do that. Some people are saying Tua. You could trade for Tua Tagovailoa from Miami. He hasn't impressed me that much yet. He's got something to prove to me that he can even be a viable starter in the NFL. I don't know if I see it yet. Not to mention his injury problems. So I will stand by what I've always said. If there was a Wilson trade to make, you do it before free agency opens up. You don't do it after you sign free agents, after the draft, after you build the team. You don't do it after all these teams already had a chance to move on. Like the Bears tried to trade for Wilson, right? They're not going to trade for Wilson now. They traded up for Justin Fields in the draft. They're not going to do it now. That party's over. So the sports media is going to try to convince you that a Russell Wilson trade is still in the oven because they want people to give them clicks. I mean, that article that I talked about a minute ago with, rumor Seahawks GM tried to trade Wilson this offseason. It's just trying to get you to click, and I respect the hustle, but don't fall for it as Seahawks fans. Be smarter than that, okay? Don't look at that and go, oh, crap, I got to sell my Wilson jersey now. I got to get rid of this jersey. I got to go get a Derek Carr jersey, or I got to go get a Tua jersey, or something like that. No, no, don't bite on it too hard, okay? They're trying to get you to click. They're trying to get your attention. They're trying to get views. It's the slow part of the off season right now. They're trying to find something to discuss. And when they're done discussing the Aaron Rodgers trades or the Julio Jones trades, those are things that actually seem like they have a decent chance of happening. They're going to turn to the Wilson trade because Wilson's a superstar. Wilson's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And there was some smoke around him this offseason. In fairness, there was. I'm not going to say there wasn't. But be careful. Be careful about biting down too hard on this stuff and falling for it. They want your attention, they want your clicks, they want your money, they want you to share them on social media and get, all your friends to check it out. I wouldn't fall for this stuff. I mean, if you read this article on PFT, what's it really saying other than trading Wilson is now more financially viable? It's not saying, oh, I have a source that says this trade is in the works or that. No. So that's my recommendation. Don't bite too hard on the Russell Wilson stuff. Every indication is that right now Wilson is happy with the direction of this team. The players we got this offseason, and I didn't even mention Shane Waldron. I think all that stuff is probably going to make Wilson, whatever anger he had at the organization before the season, I think he's going to come down off of that. So, peace out, go Hawks. See you guys later tonight in stream. And yeah, don't bite down until you know you've got something in your mouth. See you later.